Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 4 of the End of the Beginning podcast. In this episode, we discuss walking with the edge of death, the refinement of personal freedom, and how the game is rigged in your favour. We chat about teaching consciousness in schools, love versus unconscious hurt, and why we cycle between peace and complexity. We hope you enjoy what you hear, and if you'd like to submit any questions for upcoming episodes, please contact us at theendofthebeginningpodcast@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Instagram. Thanks for listening. Should we get my mispronunciation of Niscadata out of the way flat for early in this episode?
Well, we should introduce, we haven't even mentioned, what's Yogananda's first name?
Paramahansa.
There you go. So you got that one, Paramahansa Yogananda. And then there's all the systems that they come from and that they create. And
that took me ages to read that book.
Yogananda is from Babaji's tree, actually.
Really?
Babaji's one of the, like the boy saint that, or the yogi Christ who wanders off into the Himalayas or
who's
the
still
Himalayas.
Around? Himalayas.
Himalayas and wandered off and became, in their language,
he is Babaji. I remember that in the story.
He becomes immortal. Yeah. He becomes immortal.
But lives on this plane.
Oh yeah, so he's floating around as a spectre. But it's an interesting phrasing because it's like he didn't become enlightened in their choice of language, presuming things aren't lost in translation. But it seems quite distinct from other yogic systems. He disappears into the mountains, and I forget the chronology of it. But there's kind of an expedience. There's a hastiness or an intentionality to get the yogic work done, to get the sadhana done, to work on yourself so that you can, chip off and transmute all this karma and in its absence be filled with enlightenment before you die. Mm. Like the premise being that if you die, you'll reincarnate and you'll be set back and you'll have to do it again. So you've got to get it all done in this lifetime. How fiercely can you meet this shit? How much can you step into your yoga? Your sadhana? And if you can get it done within this lifetime, then you become immortal, which almost sounds a bit more like a fable from a Western perspective, right? I was always struck by the different language. But I read that book when I was 25. Yeah. I found it. I wonder if this is suitable for the pod. It's pretty Luke-centric. I found it in a backpacker hostel in Bolivia in 2010, randomly.
Autobiography of a yogi?
No, before that. Something from the tradition before that, a Babaji focused thing.
Oh,
so
right.
I'm not talking about Yogananda now, I'm talking about Babaji. And there's a book about him and perhaps the 4 or 5 key disciples of him that followed. And these are lineages. Lineages in the Hindu world are part of the construct. They're everywhere. And then many, and like countless, really.
Yeah.
So I read this book and got really expanded to the point that it was really fulfilling, but got intoxicating and a bit scary for what I was willing to leave behind. And yeah, in that moment, I was like, I could leave my relationship that I was in, and I was engaged at the time. Like I could just walk away from, this is so compelling. Whatever aspect of myself is expanding right now is all consuming. Like nothing else seems to matter. And yet I stayed grounded enough to decide not to abandon my human life and not just walk away into the jungle kind of thing, but it felt like maybe something like what that feels like, is perhaps beings do that at different points. And I don't think it was ever that intense again for the rest of my life. So at the time you're like, oh, everything will be different now. And then in some ways, yes. And in some ways, no, everything's the same. But these kind of break open moments in your life where a threshold is a wall is torn down of sorts.
It's kind of an invitation, isn't it? Like a veil is dropped for a moment for you to see a potentiality you didn't know existed, kind of thing.
Yeah. And really, it's very self-orientated. These are self-realizations. I'm more than I knew. And there's terror of spiritual ego expansion and all of that. So, well, do I think I'm more than other people? And you're like, well, there might be parts like that. And those parts end up being boring, irrelevant, dissolving, or redundant. Like they're seen as actually untrue. I don't think I'd be alone in interfacing with big expansion and being afraid of becoming an ego monster. I don't think I'd be the only being in existence that's interfaced with that. Spent a lot of time feeling too small and sometimes being worried about being too big, dancing with all these things.
It's an interesting idea, isn't it? The idea of being too big.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from my perspective currently, is like everybody's kind of invited into that space.
Mm-hmm.
Like
bigness is safe.
Yeah, that it's okay to be big and it's okay to be as expanded as you can possibly handle in your being, because, well, not because, but as well as that desire for everybody else.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like, and the potentiality for it to happen in everybody else.
I think I feel a wobble of unsafety talking about this.
Okay.
Like I better be really careful
Tied
with my
up?
words, or no, not tied up. I'm just being honest.
It doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel
Unsafe to you.
egocentric to me. No. Yeah, I would never, I can't tell you what's safe and what's not. That's yours. But for me, like, it doesn't feel egocentric or anything. I've had really similar experiences, not the same, but, you know, moments where there's forks in the road where you're like, I could devote myself to a spiritual life. And in my instance, it was like let's just do one more round of, you know, humaning. It's so juicy and great. You know, like the kind of squeeze the oomph out of the human part of it.
You don't mean cocaine and whiskey either necessarily.
The drama.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, there's a quote from the lineage that I used to be part of that was from one of the gurus, the teachers, not the immediate one, but the previous generations. And it was like, have you had enough yet? Which is very
totally. I've had that.
Aligned with that.
My mind or whatever has said that to me before. Like, are you ready?
Yeah.
Have you had enough yet? Are you done?
Yeah.
You're like, no. Not yet.
We could pull that apart in so many directions.
In love
Are you
with
done with your patterns? Are you done with playing the drama out?
Are you done with being small? Are you done with not looking after yourself? Are you done with not being spiritual? Are you done with it's grunty as.
Some of those are discipline orientated and some of those are self-squashing orientated, and both have their place, of course, but so much of the you're a fuck up or you could do better comes with this taste of, comes from the perspective of you could be doing better if you'd only apply more discipline, if you weren't so lazy, if you weren't so inconsistent.
I do that a lot.
Right.
I
find that I have no doubt that discipline has its place.
Yeah.
That remembering to be kind to yourself could be a discipline too. So I suppose perhaps as discipline gets out of being 1 and 2 dimensional and starts to becoming more sophisticated and more fluid and less like practicing a dance move 1 micro step at a time and more flowing across the dance floor, it becomes infused with self-love as you do it. I'm doing this because I am irresistibly beautiful and I cannot resist taking care of myself in this way. And it stops being self-care and starts being Pauling. What's the difference? The difference is it's radically inspired in the moment, I feel, and maybe pedestrianly inspired too. It's simple, it's available, it's here. Do you want to come do this thing? Do you want to come have this conversation with me? No. And
it's the yes and the no, isn't it?
Oh, of course. Because the yes is to that self-love when the no, an outer no to that inner yes. And the beauty of saying like, I matter enough to say no to you, and to say no in a way where I'm not getting caught in a fight either. Because I don't want to get caught up in saying a no to where you are. I'm just saying a no to a level of engagement with it. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying, this is why morality just seems to lose traction for me anyway. Because everybody's in the middle of what they're in the middle of.
Yeah.
And yet we don't want to bypass here. So how do we make sure we're safe? How do we take care of our fragile parts? How do we honor the fact that it hurts if we get mixed up with this stuff? and allow people to be as they are. So much of to me, the wisdom that's drawn from the traditional monastic paths of Buddhism and Hinduism and Sufism and stuff tends to be like, if you hold a higher perspective, you and I talk about this a lot, if you hold a higher perspective, you'll see that they're coming from pain and that's all that's going on. That's a beautiful thing. It can so easily become dogmatic.
Yeah.
So you're constantly expanding yourself to see where they're really coming from. And we can dial out or dilute or detach in an unhelpful way from the human experience that we came to have. It's like we can check out on it a bit. And maybe you got to go through that in order to, it's like I'm going to awaken consciously to see that, wow, everybody's just working through their stuff and none of this is personal. There are no perpetrators. And yeah, that's a really important part of the story and maybe an integral part of the process to dive into in a unilateral way. I'm just going to go after this for a time. What I've noticed in my journey is at some point that becomes dry and not enough. And I notice that every time I hold a higher perspective and find compassion for this other being who's displaying hurtful behavior to me or someone I love or themselves or whatever, I find compassion towards them, but at least half the time, I miss out on compassion for myself. For who? For the spiritual part? No, it doesn't need it. It's good. It's fine. This is all opportunity seized. This is all found money. It's like going to the casino and, I won again. I won again. And that's not reflective of duality. And the invitation is to see that that's magical, actually, that you can lose at the casino makes the casino fun. Right? I mean, I'm not going to get you with that metaphor. I can tell.
No.
I want to win at the...
You already... No, I'm in. I'm totally in. I get you.
I'm being facetious.
There's no fun in winning without losing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like we can go play sports against our kids and their friends
and kick their asses,
put
man.
Up some stats.
We will really...
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is a really important piece of what it is to journey, to have a spiritual part of your life is to go, okay, there's two parts here. I'm a infinite spiritual being here having a human experience. This is a Taoist concept, but Wayne Dyer said it a lot, so I always think of Wayne Dyer. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, not the other way around. So if that's the case, there's some of the most powerful moments are where we step into the human experience. We're awake, our consciousness is awake, we understand we're a spiritual being, that part's being honored. We recognize that we intentionally came here and we're going to step into it. What does it feel like to inhabit a body with a rather finite nervous system and cardiovascular system and all the different bits? What does it feel like to be piloting that vehicle and to be raising children and to be managing a relationship? So I think of like the archetypal enlightenment being Ram Dass's language. There's no place left in him to be stuck. Your man, Pete Crone, I think he says stuck as well. There's a place, what places left in you are still held small. It's revealing to you where you're still trapped. It's revealing. I'm butchering his language.
Yeah, Crone uses the freedom metaphor from Krishnamurti.
You're not free.
Where you're not free.
Yeah. It's revealing to you where you're not yet free. That's accurate.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't think it ends either.
Yeah.
And eloquently, or rather elegantly, I've never seen him infer that it does, although the traditions would.
Have you noticed though in the videos, there's a lot of the time there's like this unlock moment where he unlocks a door.
Yes.
And a lot of people, oh no, I shouldn't say that. My first interpretation of that was, he's unlocked them. And it's like, no, he's just unlocked a door.
Yeah.
There's still a whole bunch of doors that need unlocking and stuff, but
yes.
It's kind of presented as a, ta-da!
It has.
I unlocked the door. Now you're good.
Yeah.
But it's just a profound moment they're having.
This is a delineation.
They will have other profound moments.
This is a really important delineation. What's happening is that he is creating a container and asking just the right questions aligned with his intuition because of the growth that he's experienced. On a level, yeah. I mean, it looks like that he's doing a thing. Tony Robbins is doing a thing to somebody. In my experience, it's got everything to do with that person being ready to step into that, everything to do. So I think in a really important way, Peter Crone, Tony Robbins, what to the extent that they're effective, I've not really deep dove into Tony Robbins, but I've certainly seen enough of Crone where I can feel something wonderful happening in those moments, and they're really beautiful, and I can feel their love for themselves growing, his love for them, no doubt his love for himself by simply being himself in that moment. There's something magical. Or you could just say the love is expanding in that moment. The love is recapturing itself, is recognating itself, is reconnecting with itself, is reunifying itself. And as we talk about often, it's greater than it was. It's now 1 + 1 = 3 because of the venture out into the contraction and then the reintegration of God back into God. Go, oh my God, this place is even more than I knew it was. That place we can call Paul. So is it him doing it to them, or is it them being ready to do it to themselves? And so they step towards an energy that is resonant with the thing awakening in them. So he's offering a thing that they have to be resonant with to claim, to open towards. That door cannot open unless they're ripe. There's a Buddhist adage, like, in the right moment, a simple, delicate leaf falling off the oak tree gently pops on someone's shoulder, and that's enough of a catalyst to pop them open and they're enlightened. But if it's the wrong moment, the entire tree can fall on their head and nothing changes. It's fun to play with. So there's a timing, right timing. And what drives that? Well, divine intelligence and all this stuff. And it's also suggestive it's out of control. So you surrender to the moment and you find what you find in the moment, period. So my feeling is the ones that can, I feel like the moments with least drag is to be able to sit in that, using Pete Crone as the example. He's just going to be himself in the best way that he knows how in that moment, because it's dynamic. It's not what it was last year. It's new, it's innovated, it's expanded. Parts of himself have been revealed to him in the last year. I'm choosing a random quantity of time. He's integrated new parts of himself. He's become a different being. He's grown. And so the version of himself he reaches for that feels best is different. We are dynamic. We are fluid. We are revelatory creatures. We are emergence itself. Our edges are the most representative of us because it's the highest vibrational part of us, the boundary we're expanding into. So he's moving towards the most efficient and divine expression of himself that he has. And these other people are as well. And it happens to look like a teacher-student dynamic. Pete's Peting and Susie's Susieing. Susie's the random guest or whatever. And that's the form that it takes. And maybe that's a little too convenient. I've sat, even in recent times, with people devoted to teaching sannyasin type paths who are devoted to offering spirituality to other people. And it's often talked about in terms of you work on yourself, you expand. It's utterly wonderful and completely captivating. And then it gets to a point where simply doing your own work isn't enough. You now have to keep it moving quicker and quicker. You've now got to offer it to others. So this supports what it is to, one, uplift the species, but two, promote classical spiritual teaching structures or dynamics or whatever. And I don't feel that that's wrong, but I don't talk about it in that way. It feels less, it's like a bronze medal in my heart versus a gold medal way to talk about it. Because to me, you can get stuck in systems like that where I'm the teacher and you're the student. And that has an energy flavor. It's like, well, I'll hold space for you and you can receive. I'm the one who knows and you're the one who wants to know. I'm the one who inhabits this place and you're coming to inhabit this place. And I don't think it's a step. It's a huge jump to see that at its pointiest end, that's a guru-disciple relationship.
Yeah, it's a hierarchy.
Something I have no interest in, but not because it's wrong necessarily, but because I think it's just a bit inefficient that, I don't know. The optimal to me feels like being in the very middle of life, being in the very middle of duality. I was this will fall back in because I was thinking about this before, wondering if I'd get to it, but I don't know how you could have your work done and there are no places in you that are not free, where you are not now free, and be in a spousal relationship or a parental relationship. I don't know how that could be possible, because the very essence of that relationship is the push and pull and the safety and the provisioning, and is defined by us growing, us amplifying and growing one another. Our friendship, Paul and Luke's friendship, there's tension and relief and push and pull and growth, and that's what builds trust, and it was what creates the growth that makes it like in a crude way, transactionally valuable. It has a commodity to it. So I don't know, is it clear sort of the two archetypes I'm painting? One where there is a point where you cross a threshold and you are now free. A beautiful friend said to me once, like, I might have said this recently, I can't remember if it was on the pod or not, but there are somebody deeply respected and and that some might regard as having a, I don't know,
just say it.
yeah, okay. Somebody who some might regard as enlightened. Yeah, and it was really refreshing to hear him say, "Oh, there's a lot more enlightened than me." So that's a beautiful human moment. But what it really points to for me is like, well, what are we talking about? Yeah. Are there places in me that are not yet free? Am I more free to acknowledge that I'll never be fully free while I'm here? Or am I less free? Can the idea of completing the job, being completely enlightened, does it free me or hold me back? Does the idea of having achieved it, and there are very, very few people you'll ever meet that claim that, and tread lightly, be cautious.
It feels to me, I know you're not asking that actually as a question, it's a rhetorical question.
It's just lazy 20 minutes of straight monologue rhetoric.
But for me, it feels like the more that you start with your crude blocks. This is my functional way of understanding it. Yep. You start with your big, clunky, crude blocks, and they get smashed into pieces as you walk past them, through them, over them, around them, however you choose to surmount them. And then the blocks become, or the places where you're stuck, however you want to put that, become ever more refined. So the more that you smash through different spaces, you deal with things, sometimes they come back because you actually haven't dealt with them. You thought you had. You'd hopped over it. It grabbed legs and ran further down the path to come and meet you later. You know, feels like a very Studio Ghibli explanation. Yeah. But, you know, like they become ever more refined, I think.
Yes.
And so you feel more and more free because you're becoming less and less stuck in those moments. However, your senses become, or you become more finely tuned to those places you are really stuck, and they become more increased. I don't think they become more difficult. Maybe they become more challenging, perhaps, because they're so fine. Like if you look at a beginning, you know, aspirant, if you want to use that terminology, they wouldn't even see that far end, you know, stuckness.
Yeah,
they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" And you're like, "Well, when you've done that and that and that." And you'll get to here too, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm sure there's
something that happens.
Doesn't feel right to you?
No, it certainly does. It just brings up those refinements.
Yeah,
function as nuances inside of you.
Yeah,
and one of those nuances is that you see the beauty in where people are at more and more and more.
Totally.
And yet we're also becoming more. There's always these paradoxes in all of these, right? And you're becoming better and better at managing your own energy.
Yeah.
All the time. So you're honoring where they are, seeing the beauty, not as a fledgling child. It's not patronizing. It's not like that, because you're seeing them and you in them, and the providence and the sovereignty and the majesty and the divinity in the play. So, well, the play, the Sanskrit word leela, like playing things out, the dance of, because to God it's child's play. and it incorporates all these different ingredients, but it can be a kind of lubricating way to hold it. If it never ends, which is, the problematic nature of this place as a simulation. It's like, well, if it never ends, then it must be such a profound gift to God that it informs the very nature of God, or the very valuing, quantification, qualification, the very God's experience of itself is so informed and expanded and appreciated by this place, then in its own, it's so powerful to God that it is God. God wouldn't live without it, lest it not be here. So it's, sure, maybe it's a simulation of such a high quality, I don't know, but we can't really afford to, in my experience, we can't afford to hold this place as silly or superfluous, like a video game, where you go, yeah, that was fun, but I'm going to turn it off, walk away. This is that, and also not that. It's that insofar as you cannot be harmed here. The divine part of you cannot be harmed here. And yet, it's almost, I would say, the Shakti, if you like, is drawing you into a deeper and richer experience of viscerality. I think I made up a word. Of what it is to be really organically here. And that means like, okay, you can't die, Paul, you can't die. Not the divine spark in you, can't die. Never born, can't die. Let's test that out.
Do some base jumping without a parachute.
It's like that. Let's test that out by seeing how alive you can really feel. And you can't feel alive if death isn't in play. You can't have a rock star night at the casino if there was never a chance that you could lose. So it becomes like, how much can we feel? And feeling tends to have this beautiful interweave with vulnerability, fragility, finiteness, death. The ability to die has this wonderful interweave with what it is to be alive. Not new ideas, right? But when we hold it against being infinite and invulnerable, and how wonderful that is, but how we run out of ways to value it. So let's go see how alive we can be by walking the edge with death. What would it be to, divorces and funerals, and like to go through all this stuff? And if you just thought it was a simulation, that's a sociopath. They're just like, well, it's fine. It's all fine. But no, there are parts of us that it's very turbulent for. And when we meet that turbulence, we get to integrate it as incredible value to our soul. And as it happens, it tends to create really alive and peaceful and excitable, creative, loving beings. The more we can meet the chaos and the turbulence of this and drink it in and participate in this process, the bigger we grow, and the more we can hold that growth, and the more fantastical human beings become. But they don't do it in a way where you look at a child and say, your problems are meaningless. They're silly little games. They don't mean anything. They don't have anything to do with geopolitics and fossil fuel industry dramas, and Israel-Palestine, so they're irrelevant to me. It doesn't work that way. You see the value more and more in what people are doing. Yeah, so if that's coherent, that thread that we've threaded, let's say, for the first chunk of the pod, that to me is being more deliberate about integrating the feminine part of spirituality, of spiritual living, of spiritual practice, whatever. How alive can we be? I don't want to see this as a simulation and to hold a bigger perspective and for it to float by. Only. If I want both. I want to be able to see where people are coming from and be alive to that whilst I'm safe and protected.
It's interesting, like,
and in touch with myself.
When you, like, diving into that simulation idea, I was having a chat with a friend recently about the idea of that, of it, this being a simulation. And simulation really is just a word that we've pulled out of tech land that most people understand from a perspective of playing video games or something not
True.
being real or whatever. But for me, like a deeper meaning of simulation.
It's defined by its not realness.
Yeah. Whereas I think the idea of what's the word I'm looking for? I think the idea of the construct of this reality, to call it a simulation, is part of the idea. It's part of the communication of, hey, to me it feels exactly the same as, hey, you are the unified field. Hey, you are Godhead, isness, however you want to say it, unfolding into something else to experience itself. It's the same thing as saying, this is a simulation.
Yeah.
It feels like the language that we're using. I shouldn't say that. What I should say is my interpretation of the word simulation does a huge injustice to this reality, because my interpretation of simulation is quite finite and it's quite limited and it's not real. Whereas if you are God, or you are isness, and you are creating something to dance inside yourself, to realize what it's like to not be that and to unfold inside the chaos of infinity, then that's like it feels like we're trying to. My head's about to explode. It feels like we're trying to use a human inside this reality thing to explain something that is outside of this reality.
Yeah.
You know, like we've made it so small, the idea of it's a simulation. Have you played No Man's Land? It's like that. There's infinite worlds. It's like, no, it's not like that, man. And I think it's okay to call it a simulation, with the caveat that you understand that this is an incredible, inspiring, fantastical, beyond anyone's comprehension. Well, not anyone, but beyond most people's comprehension of what is happening here. It's like I don't know. While you were talking before, I had this kind of it wasn't a download, but just this image of like a crown chakra fully open, and God beaming into the being. And I imagine that must be something that it's like a visual image of what perhaps my interpretation of enlightenment is. I don't know. But whether it's through meditation or whether it's through medicinal plant medicine, whether it's through breath work or whether it's through whatever, touching just even a tiny part of the source, like even spending a moment in that space, it's like the idea that it can be encapsulated inside a human is preposterous to me.
Yeah.
But also
joyously preposterous.
Yeah. But also understanding that potentially my limitation, but potentially there is a way, a hack, opening of the vessel, button that gets pushed, that allows that to happen. That does allow that to happen. It allows free-flowing consciousness to pour into the vessel and then out into this reality.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense to me, even though I'm contradicting what I've just said. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense.
But you
in
also
that moment.
inferred heavily that the word simulation is a joke in its capacity to capture what it's trying to communicate.
Yeah, it's a very small word for a very majestic, grand,
well, like the letters
phenomenal
G-O-D
experience.
or whatever. Like we don't.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, we're not all love. And love's a much more functional one that we're like, what does that even mean? It's the thing we're always talking about, but what does it even mean? And it means nothing and everything. And it's, again, this is a language shortfall, but it's like, that when you find that, hold on, like the little boy looking into space and his dad says, well, it goes for forever.
Yeah.
Like, and what's after our solar system and what's after the planets and stars we know is, well, more of that shit. And after that, well, more and more.
Dad's a deep thinker. More of that shit.
Yeah, as he taps his watch and wonders when he can get back to watching Married with Children.
Look, Peg, Hooters.
Oh, that's
throwback.
Yeah.
We'll cut that out.
No, we can't. What's this theme song? I used to have
Love and marriage, love. If it's not Frank Sinatra, it sounds like Frank. I think it's.
And
Yeah.
ask your local. What is it?
Gentry.
Yeah, what's a gentry?
I have no idea, but if I was trying to sound intelligent on a podcast, I would probably say gentry would be a information booth. No, I have no idea. It would be like a gentrification. So is
I
it?
was thinking gentleman. So
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
something to do with Gentile.
Yeah.
Somebody of respect.
Somebody of knowledge.
Village leader,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a natural bookend to our.
There was something you said earlier on as well, which I thought was really fascinating. It was the idea of can you, and of course you can, but it's more like bringing to the fore the idea of you having great respect, understanding, and love for where everybody's at, but also, and this is one of your phrases, like the loving no, I think you called it. That thing of like, love all of you people in here. It's beautiful to see everybody where they're all at, and I don't want to be in this room.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't feel like I have anything to offer this space.
I think that's magical.
Yeah.
I think that is.
It's quite a not wild is the wrong word, but it's quite a fierce discernment, isn't it? For the protection of. Well,
I feel like you were about to say counterculture. I don't know if you meant that, but for sure it's fierce. And I think the reason it's fierce.
What's more, it's protecting.
Because it's untrained in us. Or particularly like, tragic, nice guys like you and I or something. It's untrained in us. And so simply, I find that a really interesting thing.
Well, it's quite powerful. Like if you from that point of view of like giving yourself permission to not be a bit of an ass, but to be brutal. Like men in particular are encouraged to, get their, heal the dog of violence. That idea of the two dogs. To really get that under wraps, which I think fantastic. Do it. Get that. Get that sorted.
Yeah.
But also when it needs to come out, be a complete ninja. And that can be with your own.
You're talking about healthy expressions of anger in the
No,
world?
no.
I'm fierce.
Yeah, exactly.
Directionality. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to
but
go
also
all the way this way.
almost like fierce
Decisive.
defending of your own internal ecosystem. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's not about protection. It's just like, no, this is my field. I'm in my field. I feel good in my field, and I don't feel like, wrong word here, but it's the best I've got, sullying the space I've cultivated for myself right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Yeah. Sullying's the wrong word because that denotes a kind of, I
don't think it's the wrong word at all, but it does show. I mean, that's a perfect. You just became the tension around what it is to be fierce, to use your word.
Yeah.
It's simply protecting yourself. Really, not abandoning yourself can be fierce. So saying something like this will sully my energy feels uncomfortable because it's fierce. And it will feel like that until it doesn't anymore. The beauty is I have nothing to offer you people if I'm self-sacrificing and detouring from myself in order to be with you.
The other thing that's really fascinating is if you were to proclaim, for example, I'm out of here, guys. I'm not feeling the vibe, and everyone gets upset. You'd be like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. But
they've sullied their waters.
However, if someone's like, sweet man, totally get it, blah blah blah, you're like, maybe I misread that, or maybe I misread that person, or that,
Yeah, I had someone.
I don't know. That feels a bit weird to say out loud, but
yeah, and I think it's not if we're just talking about anonymous people.
Yeah, of course.
But when you imagine actual scenarios. This is the beauty. It's like you were saying before off air about the archetype of maybe we should all just work really hard to protect the next generation. Let's just bust our ass to get the coffers full so they can be as comfortable as possible. That's half the story at best.
When you say that back to, because I know what you're referring to.
Yeah.
When you say that back to me, it sounds like I'm robbing someone of an experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're hearing where I'm going with this, but it seems more and more obvious with time that as much as our children are their own unique sovereign beings, in a karmic level, they've chosen parents in a very specific way. And these are all just they're all poetic ideas until their truth is revealed and you can really feel it in real time. And it's the kind of like, what's truth? Like there's scientific truth and that gets updated with subsequent peer reviewed journals and all this stuff. And then there's the truth of here and now. My heart says yes to that. My heart says that is real, felt truth. You might call it yin truth. And an example of that rearing its head is I can feel how my son is a protege to me. I can feel how I'm a protege to my father and how this same good and bad things continue. The baton gets passed along, and not in a vague, oh yeah, I suppose in this little way, in really important and fierce lines of karma way, where intergenerational family patterns are either stopped or they're not. And when we were talking before about that kind of, I think it's Kriya Yoga, the Babaji tradition, again, just another structure and another set of language, not higher or lower, where we're trying to chase down fiercely and decisively immortality within the confines of this lifetime so that we don't have to start again and get bumped back 50 years before we can get enough momentum to crack into it. It's very specific and it presumes a lot, that the world is a certain way, that enlightenment is a certain way, and I guess structures are like that. Maybe that could overlay conveniently on the intergenerational stuff with our own children. Yeah, so whatever work I do on myself, which includes breaking down my own bad habits and my own, I was going to say repugnances or something, the bits that are a bit gross, the bits that are blunt and short and selfish and treat people cheaply, and those bits that we're refining, and the other half of the story, which is where I do all that shit to myself, where I treat myself secondarily. And most of them aren't conscious, like I'll self-sacrifice here. It's most I forgot to check in with Luke. Is he okay? How does he feel? Am I provisioning the same level of care to him as I do to others? And it's again, another paradox. Here we go. But children benefit from the environment we provision. They also benefit from the work we do on ourselves. So if we work only on the container, they're destined to be a container. If we work only on the self-orientation, then that's a tricky one, because you love loving your daughter well. Pauling at his best looks like that. There would be a perhaps more ego-orientated, I'm the only one that matters, what about my feelings, like a really ugly version of that, which is let's say a low vibrational model. And then there's the third way, which is the balance of the both. And the really interesting vein that runs through all of that is that you love yourself by being the Paulus Paul you can. You love your daughter by being the Paulus Paul that you can. They're mutually beneficial. Why? Because the game's rigged. Why? Because you are love. And stepping into that more and more overflows your cup onto others. Yeah.
What you just said is something that is recently occurring in my life. You know, like it's taken a while to understand that, that balance of needs thing. And I think that, we are the schooling system, like we are entrained to serve. That's been a big thing for most, I think, most empathetic, kind, loving, beautiful people in the world. It's like, cool, we know what we can do with you guys. Welcome to the Prussian schooling system,
Yeah.
And we're going to get you to follow some rules, and we're going to train the bits of your brain that like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And we're not going to, we're going to nullify the bits that like to think for itself.
Yeah.
And good luck seeing how you get out of that one. It takes a while, I think. Like, it takes a while to get out of that, that training.
Interface with it in terms of less of the industrial education machine that you're inferring, and more the evolution of the species. That, no doubt, there's dodgy fellas with sticky fingers that have been manipulating things to their advantage for forever, only ever from disconnect from who they really are, only ever in the natural playing out of karma. But the one that interests me more is to see... Do you want to go?
No, you go.
This is fucking... I think a
Paul's
hernia just popped out of Paul's abdomen.
All I was going to say, real quick,
Put the fucking hernia back in before you.
Was that according to, and again, this is sciencey science, it's like the anomaly is now. The anomaly is peace. The anomaly is that we're not feuding. The anomaly is we're actually not at war right now. When you look at our recorded history, when you look at our...
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
You mean over the 10,000 year window, yeah.
And so for me, it
40.
more it feels like this has been happening all the time. And the thing that, again, it's just a frustration inside of me, is it requires the being to self-spiritualize, to be able then to oscillate outside of the system to see it. Which is, like, it's not a bad thing, but I get excited by the idea of, imagine if we were taught spiritual tools at school. Imagine if we were taught about consciousness and we were taught about all the things that you and I like to talk about. Imagine if that was part of a curriculum at school. I'm not saying that this is it, because you don't ever want to prescribe. You want the soul to be able to choose its own journey and the own things that stick to it and make sense to it. But to have the option of like, well, these are the spiritual ideas currently, and you teach all of them. And whatever resonates with you generally is the one that you would choose, and you would investigate it until it no longer offers you anything of any worth according to your soul, and you can investigate another. You can make your own one up. You can, whatever that is. Like, it would be so different to, all right, it's 10:30, it's playtime. Everybody go out and try and not beat each other up. And,
Yeah.
It's a very, very different.
It's a beautiful ideal to play with. And I wonder if it's you're not the first person to posit that.
What?
Yeah.
No, I
but I'm
definitely.
not. It's also uncommon. So honouring both ends of that stick, and I wonder if attuning to that has closed the gap somewhat. I remember chatting to her 10 years ago, probably longer. Yeah, say 10 years ago, before my eldest was entering school, but when it was a topical dialogue, like what school, which direction, all these things, and chatting to I think a high school teacher, but she was commenting on primary school and how far it's come, how much more social and emotional intelligence aligned the curriculum is.
My God, I remember some of my teachers were from my dad's generation. I remember having a 70-year-old teacher in school.
Right.
In primary school.
Oh, you mean they were your dad's teachers?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Holy moly.
Yeah, and we're not inferring that age is the limiter, but it's all another paradox, because you can have a lot of wisdom and softness.
Is what I'm getting at.
But you can have intergenerational
true.
culture and impact, and
But these are some brutal bitches, man. They were like...
There's the title of the pod. Some brutal bitches.
Man, they were so angry. Mind you, I used to have one teacher who would smash rulers on the desk in primary school.
Yeah.
You kids are out of control. And he would grab the ruler off someone's desk and just slam it into the desk. And then the kid would have to go and buy another one, even if they weren't the one that did the... Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Insane. He used to say, buy hokey, buy thunder. That's what buy hokey! And then would smash the...
What's hokey?
Exactly. No one knows. I thought it was the first part of hokey pokey. I thought it was a good thing. Turns out it's not. I don't know what it is.
So it wasn't until I paid for my 7th ruler.
That I discovered.
Is there another meaning to hokey? Surely it's a Polynesian thing.
People just teachers taking...
What are we talking about?
And you turn around, that's what it's all about. These teachers are taking out their own internal shit on the kids. Like, far out. It's so brutal. I'm sorry I've harped on something that was...
No. School comes up every other episode. They need to unpack the school thing. I mean, it's foundational. And so it's, in a way, it's always relevant.
Well, we hand over our most vulnerable members of our society to this group that we entrust are going to instill in them the values that we align with in our lives.
Yeah.
That also are going to help them with the problems that they have in the social group of a classroom.
Right.
And we hope that they're teaching them the things that they're going to need in the academic and potentially spiritual, social parts of their life moving forward. And it's like, it's a big ask. I get it.
Yeah. My feeling's always been, and it's not even a hop, skip, or a jump from what we were just talking about. I'm sure that's connected to Hokey Pokey, me saying it that way.
Get some ice cream at the end of the hop, skip, and a jump.
School.
Yeah.
Parenting. Like we were saying, we hand the baton to our children and they pick it up exactly, not near to, exactly where we left it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right or wrong. It simply seems to be anecdotally true, fiercely experientially available in my life, that's what's going on. So whatever shit we're working on, get busy. To the extent that you love your children. As an act of love to your children, get busy. Also, you've got to love yourself as you work through that stuff meticulously at the natural pace, or they'll inherit the angst of, the hyper spiritual, desperate sort of archetype that can happen as well. But to that end, how much, they've got them 6 hours of the day, 30 hours of the week for most weeks of the year. That's a lot. And yet still, the overwhelming influence is us and the way we relate to life, the way we relate to our own heart, the way we relate to our own community, the way we relate to as you and I as straight men, the way we relate to their mothers or the women in our lives. It's all archetypal. It's all imprinting. The thing is, it's whether we like it or not. It doesn't fucking matter what you say. It matters what you're being. It doesn't matter what you do. It matters what you're being. You can talk to kids about you can be anything you want to be in the world. But if you are fully entrained in a life of servitude to survival, and I can't be creative because I've got to pay this mortgage and I can't be what I would like to do, that's totally reasonable to do. But the contradiction is pretty plain. You can do anything you want, but I can't. This isn't a moral observation about what's right or wrong here. It's about that if you get in the ocean, you'll get wet. Sorry or yay? It doesn't matter. The adjectives we throw at that are irrelevant. Ocean, wet. Children, impressions. That means if we're in contradiction with ourselves, then they live in a split energy confusion and they normalize that. Children think their parents are gods till whatever pubescent age. Infallible in a lot of ways. Maybe not infallible. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe they can see them in their mistakes, but they think they're amazing. They cannot help but love them. It's romantic and beautiful. It's also mammalian and neurological. It's a given. The worst parents, it's not a word that's fun to use in that context, and the best parents get treated the same by their children until true autonomy comes online. They love them.
It's very, very godlike, isn't it?
It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility. And yet we find ourselves, it's also the easiest thing in the world to accidentally get pregnant kind of thing. The system's rigged to that end. Because, very young human beings can get pregnant. Yeah. So it's always interested me more what work goes on at home and what work goes on between self and self and how that impacts the children. And
it's the only, except for what school you send them to, it's the only real power that you can exert over there.
I think most dialogues I'm having with people around the school tension, it's not irrelevant. And you and I have had them too, to be fully transparent, a lot, because our kids are in school together. But it's always 10x on the side of the work that the parents are going through themselves. So that infers that it's possible to pour more energy into the school and less into the relationship between self and self. That's it. That interests me. And I'm not sitting around feeling high and mighty about that because it seems natural. You said before, like, teachers will vomit their own stuff onto the children, project their own stuff when they're triggered in those moments. And of course they will. Of course they will. I don't know that there's anybody that couldn't. I don't know that there's anybody who could say I'm truly safe from that eventuating. That will never eventuate with me because I've meditated every day for 1 billion years. No, you're in duality. You'll have blind spots. Children are really good at drawing out blind spots. So in a way, I have compassion for them, that they're willing to step into that and be that naked as children work shit out. And yeah, they've got a duty to. There's a beautiful Sufi teacher called, the tradition was called the Golden Sufi, and the teacher was Tweedy. I found some MP3s in the early 2000s. I was straight out of school that I was obsessed with. It was so beautiful. She was from one of the Slavic countries and she had a thick accent and it was magic. It was like speaking to a gypsy, listening to a gypsy grandmother deity, and she'd offer these beautiful things. And she was talking about this Sufi tradition. It's old world perspective, so think of it as fable kind of thing. But if the children do the wrong thing, you tell them. If the children do it again, you yell at them. If the children do it again, you hit with a stick. She's the sweetest lady.
Is her name Baba Yaga?
You hit, but you never hit from your own pain. You only hit from love. Now that's why I say we treat it as a fable. We treat it as a fairy tale.
Well, it is an interesting idea. Like the idea you're trying to teach a child not to run to the road.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there is love in that
Firmness,
space.
boundaries.
Yeah. Maybe you don't need to hit them. Maybe you can just kind of be.
Okay, so that's why I said fable 15 times.
Yes. No, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you do. Maybe it needs to be a very serious lesson that needs to go in because it's going to save their life. You know, like maybe.
Well, I think the premise is that firmness and boundaries can come. I don't think this belongs to just the parent-child relationship. I think it's everywhere. Like your willingness to say no thank you and walk out of the room it felt fierce. We could swap out fierce for firm there. I'm being assertive with myself here. There's a beautiful dynamic an interplay between being aggressive and being assertive, and that they're not the same thing. Yeah. I remember it comes from being in a clinical environment in my former career kind of thing, and they were saying that when we're operating in teams, multi-discipline teams of paramedics and nurses and doctors and orderlies and all sorts of different things in hospital and public uncontrolled environment spaces, and therefore we've got a duty to communicate really clearly under duress. And one of the examples of poor execution is people biting their tongue, regardless of rank. And so being assertive but not aggressive. Aggressive would be dominating people and needing to be the leader no matter what, and not sharing ideas. But you can be meek as well and inefficiently submissive. So being assertive is that middle way. Essentially saying, like, if you know a thing and you don't say a thing, you're culpable to a poor outcome. So something like that. If you feel in yourself that I am not going to contribute anything good to this environment because it's forcing me to abandon myself in order to stay in it, for the good of all, I leave. The most loving thing to do is to leave. You guys don't want dilute Paul. You don't want me pretending to be Stephen. We owe everybody the best version of ourselves. And it's so culturally fearful. It's full of fear in our culture to do that, I think. Because what if I was selfish?
There's plenty worse things to be.
Well, just like there's aggressive and there's meek and submissive and aggressive, and then there's assertive in the middle. Here I am. Here's what I think. Here's what I feel. I don't need you to take it, but I do require from this environment that I'm allowed to be myself in a healthy way. self-advocacy in place of self-abandonment. Yeah.
Good thing to practice, hey?
Well, yeah, it's
That
kind
line
of everything.
between aggressive and assertive can be thin, and it's really just the energy attached to it, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a beautiful scale between absolute codependence and absolute narcissism. It's a different paradigm, but I think it has efficacy here. And it's like one is that you really, really struggle to attune to others, that they're having a separate experience to you. So that's functional empathy. They have needs that aren't my needs. They say in the depths of narcissistic pathology that you know that the other person in the room has needs. Like if I'm the narcissist, I know that Paul has needs, but there's a disconnect in my brain where I am pathologically convinced that Paul's needs are my needs. They're not the same as like he needs food and water.
Yeah.
I need food and water and Paul needs me to have food and water. That's a tragic disconnect. One might argue if being a human being is innately about connection because we're mammalian, then you just removed connection. You can't really connect if you don't see another person. So that's the really pointy end of narcissism. There's a spectrum, and at the other end is codependence, where it's the same, but you can't connect. At its absolute end, you can't connect with yourself. When you step into the arena of a relationship, all you can do is focus on the well-being of another. And naturally, both of these are rooted in trauma, and they've been created in our infancy. Before 4 or before 2 or wherever they draw the line neurologically, neurodevelopmentally. Yeah. And that the codependent needs to develop some narcissism. And the narcissist needs to develop some codependence. One of the crazy inequalities is that it seems, and maybe a neuroscientist or a psych would correct me here, I don't know, but everything that I've read and interfaced with is that the narcissist, because of the nature of the symptomology, is either incapable or incredibly unlikely to self-reflect to begin that journey. So they tend to stay there, the pathological narcissist. But I think they're statistically quite rare, despite the overuse of the word these days. It's an interesting thing.
There'd have to be a profound realization for a narcissist to shift out of that space. Yeah, because there's no impetus for them to do so.
Well, except for utter social retardation.
Yeah.
Yeah. From people walking away.
But then you get all the codependents,
ready to fawn.
Serving them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that serves that. So in some schools of thought.
It's weird when you were just talking about like that pointy end of narcissism. There was part of me going, it's like God forgot that it's God, but then it forgot that it's connected to everybody else as well.
Certainly.
Like it's a second forgetting.
It's incredible isolation.
Yeah, like because it's only concerned.
There's the first amnesia.
Yeah, so
right.
it's only concerned about itself.
Yeah.
Which the isness would be because there's nothing else.
Indeed. Yeah.
I feel like I'm eating my own tail at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. So again, like always, noticing the edge and noticing that there's a cliff edge where in Hindu practice they talk about the yonic and the bhakta path. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. And the yana one, the yonic one is a yani is one who pursues enlightenment through wisdom. And that path is orientated by wisdom, and you could say the mind, you could say the third eye, it depends on who's talking. But what tends to happen is you use wisdom, like dizzying concepts of the divine, to walk yourself closer and closer to God. And it's a cliff edge, and there's naught left to do. I think you'll like this. There's naught left to do. You can't talk your way into God. You can't capture God with an intellectual conversation, no matter how deep the wisdom. So you walk yourself to the cliff edge and then you let yourself fall off. So mirroring the conversation we're just having, and you go, I'm eating my own tail, I'm right at the edge here, and you fall off. So you can't speak God, but you can be God. I've said that so many times in the pod, it feels cheesy. And yet it's like everything. So
My
another paradox.
that you can be God makes me feel uncomfortable. Like my brain automatically rephrases that to you can be with God. You know, like I don't
How
know.
incredibly convenient.
I don't know why, but it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Like
Well, no matter what, we could sit here and go, well,
that's the same thing.
That's inefficient or wrong. Or
No, it's the same thing. I
can't
know it
be
means.
different.
I know it means the same thing. But
Well, I
that's
think the difference is
entrainment.
important. I think the difference is important. I'm going to be with God rather than to be God. So what are you? Are you a grain of infinity being held by infinity in that moment? And wouldn't a grain of infinity be infinite and therefore totally and in all ways equal to the infinite that's holding it? That's the nature of infinity. It's a grain of sand on the beach and it seems small, but every one of those grains contains everything. Everything. All the small and all the gigantic. So it's God holding God and there is no separation except for the individuation journey we've created for ourselves. This is the thing. So they talk about some traditions like how ridiculous that you would be afraid of your own power. That's impossible. And in others, like it's like a natural part of things to be afraid of your own power. The gap between you appreciating God and you being God is the work to me. Yeah. And I get it. I get that sounds dangerous. It sounds like, well, you might end up an egomaniac. But what I found is that I'm just naturally inclined to this. And who knows, in a year it could all disappear and I could be a reformed Christian. Yeah. Bible Belt American, Midwest, something.
Yeehaw.
And it's fine. They're all whatever, because it's whatever's inspired. But what I've found is that allowing myself to grow a little bigger was scary. To allow myself to be a bit more godlike is scary. I'm afraid to say this a little. Not entirely, but it's present in me right now. But allowing that to happen, like say you go do some plant medicine or whatever, you have an experience of all this divine stuff and it is signaling to you that it dwells in you, as Luke. Not in a Luke that needs to rule the world and dominate anybody else, but simply to be, and then giving way to some of that, let's say 2% or something, and you feel all that expansion, because 2% of infinity is rather large, and you're bigger. There's more God in me than I knew. The gap got smaller, and I was afraid that I would put myself above people. As it turns out, I've just fallen madly in love with them. A little more, or a lot more. So that's been my experience of allowing myself to grow and be bigger in scary and confronting ways, is that rather than it being a tragic ego inflation, I've felt more love for people. Yeah. And
I don't, just to clarify, I don't see it as an ego thing from my perspective. Like it's more that thing of, and I'd rather not include this in the pod, but my experience of being in the journey and sitting, it was hard to get off my knees in front of God.
Reference.
It was hard to like I'm tearing up remembering the experience. Like it's hard to exist in front of that thing. Because it's fucking like...
Yeah.
You can't put it into words. So I'm happy to sit alongside it, but I find it hard to be it, you know?
Yeah.
Because
and yet you're experiencing it.
Huh?
You are experiencing it because it's moving you like nothing else can.
Yeah.
So you're having an experience of God.
Yeah, I mean, I can be part of God. Do you know what I mean? And still have an experience of being with, you
can totally sit outside of
the
it.
2% and thing. But yeah, I have a hard time, what do you call it? Integrating that idea of you are God.
Yeah. And
like, I get, like while you were talking before, like my brain is like going, well, of course you are, because...
What else would you be?
Well, but also too, there's nothing else here.
Totally.
You know, like I get it.
Oops, yeah.
But
Damn it.
But from and I don't know, there's this part inside me that's just like, I don't know, I can't maybe, having had that experience, I can't, I just can't believe that I'm that. I'm with that and I'm part of that,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah.
So we'll listen back and maybe you will be open to leaving that in because it's very raw, and so it's your choice, but it's utterly perfect. There's a part that feels that way incredibly authentically.
Yeah.
Full stop. And that might be, it might have the experiential notation of it being 100% of you. So what are you going to do? What are you going to allow for that? Are you going to allow for it? It's beautiful. But there's something, it's like, is there a God realization flavor to that experience? Yep. By definition. There is a part of you having experience of the value of God. That's all we're doing anyway. So there's so much in that that's so valuable. And it's just in the margins whether you want to close the gap in identity or whatever. The thing is, whether you identify with that as self or not, you're having the full experience, or you're having a very full experience. The idea isn't to realize that you're God intellectually. The idea is to experience God. So whether your brain can digest that that's actually you, or you're simply drowning in the orgasmic heart explosion of that, it's neither here nor there. We're chasing the experience, not the intellectual box tick.
Yeah, not the understanding of
Not
it.
the understanding, that's a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of it, yeah, it's exquisite. To the point that was like, oh no, if I dialogue, I'm going to take you out of it.
I can go back there. Like, it's
Well, yeah. So
because in those really
moving through you,
those really profound moments, like, I cannot not stay with you.
yeah,
It's like
Lovely.
it's etched into who I am now. Like that being in that space. It's like, you know, it's funny. Like I've heard other people talk about it, and there is nothing here that's anywhere near it. An orgasm, like imagine, and I'm sure in meditation or in your plant medicine experiences, you have those moments where you're just like, I mean, I guess I can endeavor to try and do that, but fucking hell.
yeah. Well,
Because there's everything in, like because there wasn't adoration, there wasn't sycophancy, there was none of that. There was just brute power of love. Like
yeah,
it was,
unapologetic and
yeah, it was just,
deluge.
it was everything. And it wasn't weak. It wasn't submissive. It was power. Like raw, like brute, like it. Yeah, man, like the sort of thing. Yeah, that sounds right. I was going to say it's the sort of thing you'd burn down a city for or with.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense either. It's like,
It's interesting because it does feel masculine when you describe it with such deliberateness. I mean, it has to be true. That it maybe this is a way to unpack it. So that we're starting from the basis that there's nothing wrong here. There's no gap to be closed. I mean, I just inferred that we're closing the gap between God. That's literally what I just said. Forgive me for contradicting, but I think it's true too. It's like there can be
welcome.
love expansion doesn't happen because it has to. God, we're not doing all this God stuff because God's incomplete. No. We're dancing out this God stuff that we call, I don't know, some flavor of spiritual living, to take what's whole and have a fuller and yet fuller experience of it over and over and over, like joy and bigger joy. And and the landscape's infinite. So it's another paradox. It doesn't need, it is fullness itself, and yet we're perpetually having a bigger and bigger experience of love through it, which somehow doesn't result in it having been less full, and yet it does.
Yeah.
If God got bigger, then it must have been less before. But how could complete fullness get less? And brain explosion. That would be an example of a Jani walking a wisdom path in a day or in a lifetime or whatever, and getting to the cliff edge and falling off the cliff into the ocean of God. Yeah. Wisdom has its place too. It's beautiful. So much of what we talk about is relational, which feels different. It feels like a more heart-based thing. But they're all at play, naturally. You expand the third eye enough and you find a natural draw to the heart, and the other way around too. So it may be academic, but I feel comfortable in saying it makes sense that you had that specific experience at that time for a reason too.
For sure.
If God's infinite, then the different faces of the nature of God's love. So there could be a yin version where it's just incredible adoration. You said it wasn't adoration. It was unapologetic brute force love. Like the kind that would destroy the universe for you. Yeah, it's like dad.
Well,
It's like dad's love.
like, yeah.
And mum's love
But it's like, it
might be a bit different.
when you said would destroy the universe for you, would make the universe for you.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
because that was
destroying the old experience of the
sure,
universe.
yeah. That was one of the things too, like walking out after that experience was like looking at all of this, like, whoa, like really, truly understanding
Yeah.
This
what's
was
been created for you.
this was made for us.
Yeah.
And not just us, it was made for all of life's consciousness.
I
so the
suppose-
animals and the et cetera, et cetera. But
Right.
us having the self-referential ability, for me, you know, like I can't speak for any other animals, so I should just shut up. But, you know, we can take in the
There's some
enormity of that.
lizards raising their eyebrows right now going, who the fuck does this guy think
I'm
he
going to
is?
talk to the anti-lizard league and
Lizard man. One of my jokes
lizard
was,
representative.
we don't know what kind of bigotry we're going to fall prey to. And in the year 2050 or whatever, and our kids are going, oh my God, are you serious with this shit? Like, whatever,
yeah.
what it'll be. And it'll be like, I don't know if I can tell this story, but it'll be like your daughter brings home some sort of lizard man. It's like, this is Petey, and we're madly in love, and we want to be together. And you're like, no daughter of mine's marrying some lizard man.
As a human, am I naturally attracted to create simplicity or complexity?
Mm-hmm.
And do my actions actually lead me towards the primarily desired outcome, so simplicity or complexity?
Okay.
If not, why not? And what stands in my way?
Yeah, I'd be fascinated to understand what your brain hears from that question. I mean, things jump off the page straight away. So introspection, I'd love to sit with this person and hear the story that has driven that, or to hear the life circumstances within which that plays out, to understand what they mean. Because it sort of infers manifestation, it infers journey and growth, but really it's about this dilemma between complexity and emptiness. What was the word he used?
Simplicity.
And simplicity.
Simplicity, yeah.
It sounds, who knows, but let's do our best, hey? It sounds like perhaps somebody who is lit up by the complexity and the mystery of life, but also deeply craves the end of it. It sounds, I mean, there's tantric inferences which jump off the page there. The chaotic feminine of what it is to be really alive and really killable and really precious and really fragile and really beautiful and really worth fighting for. And the other bit that craves peace. The other bit that craves single focusedness, like the spaciousness to do one thing and one thing only. Or up-leveling that, the spaciousness to do no thing and no thing only. The death of complexity. So these are the two competing sides between a man and a woman. But really, that's just a metaphor, an echo of a deeper dance that's between the aspects of us, the part of us that craves peace and finality and conclusion, and the part that craves life and complexity and chaos and relating, and like a jungle that just can't get enough of itself, like growing in all directions and competing. And I don't know, it's almost like, I think there's a vibrational level you can attune to where you see nature and it almost feels a bit like an orgy. It feels like a spicy word to throw in the mix, but where it feels like a mess of appetites, where things are all cohabitating together, but it's a bit messy, and one thing dies and it gets eaten and another thing dies because it's been predated upon, and the intermingling of things where, you can love someone so much, you want to protect them for forever and you do anything for them like a child, but also like the Divine Mother from one paradigm can love a being so much that it wants to eat it and turn it into soil so that they can merge and unify. It feels in this story like there's a tension point inside this being that's looking for, which way am I supposed to go? And what jumps off the page to me is the ability to float between the two. The truth is that when you meet complexity, you find spaciousness, simplicity. When you meet simplicity and you dwell there, you tend to circle back to complexity. In my world, this plays out as if we're in utter spaciousness long enough, we tend to lose touch with something that feels really true. And we want to find our edge again. I'm going to supplant the word edge for authenticity. It's the caring so much about the small things, only possible through really individuating into the complexity of a human life, really caring about your woman, your spouse, your husband, your whatever, really caring about your children, really caring about causes in the world. Those things aren't possible without a human existence. So those granules of authenticity mined from that human experience require the complexity. So when we step into a time of vast spaciousness, we find loads and loads of peace, but inevitably we find the absence of authenticity. We turn that corner and we journey into something that challenges us, like human relationship, like a growth arc in an industry or vocationally or something. We decide to get creative. We decide to dive headlong into the complexity, and we journey through it, and we find the spaciousness again on the other side of it. At its absolute most beautiful, we're not even trying to get through it. We're just being in the middle of it. And naturally, we digest it. We drink it in like the rose that gets consumed by the eye or the nose. It has realized its potential through its consumption, through its observation. So by being willing participants, we have the experience of that arc, of that chapter, and we pop out the other side. More for the experience. That complexity has met its purpose by being seen, by being contained in that spaciousness. I think it's a beautiful question, because as that spaciousness allows itself to be filled with that complexity, the authenticity it finds, i.e. it gets to know itself. The invitation is that although there's only one of us in the room, the individuations are all different. Paul and I are different. We have different passions. We have differences. And that's because the soul that I am has a certain energetic coordinate point in space. And Paul's has a different one. And they're different. And because they're different, we can relate and explore and all of that. And so we find the authenticity by finding the specificity, by finding the flavor, the nature, the edges, the intricacies of the heart of that individual soul. And we find that by fiercely observing, i.e. the simplicity, the complex. And they are two equal parts in you. and both parts grow bigger because of each other, it is the divine romance. And the tension you're feeling is what it is to be alive, firstly, and secondly, perhaps some resistance to working with them more fully. I embrace the complexity, not because it's my duty, not because it's morally righteous, not because the people in my life require it of me, but because my soul wants to. And it does. Sometimes it takes some polishing of the glass through a meditation practice or something of that ilk to discover where that essence in you is calling you. Simply what it is to be yourself and what it is to follow inspiration. Who are you? What do you love? And from that point of connection, okay, I'm in touch with myself and I can feel a natural momentum to participate in this thing we call life. And then we naturally oscillate from periods of observation and integration and quiet times and busy times, and we move from chapter to chapter, and it provides sort of a skeleton for moving through life. So two things are true. The tension isn't going anywhere. It's a natural part of life because it's the push and pull of the yin and yang aspects of who you are, your very essence. But also the more we willingly participate in welcoming that complexity in and honoring it as it is and understanding that it is here to enhance that spaciousness, the more we see that, God, they've got so much romantic investment with one another that they kind of are the same thing. So the two polarities that you're pointing to are madly in love with each other. And when they unify by working well together, a third thing is possible. And that would be the presence of God in your life.
It's beautiful.
Okay. It's a question for you, Paulie. This one comes from, I'll say a father. We tend to drop the names to make things anonymous because there doesn't seem to be a lot gained by the specificity. But this guy has a couple of kids, and he asks, I find myself shouting at my kids and then feeling like a spiritual failure. Where is the grounded path in the chaos of a Tuesday afternoon when the house is a mess?
I'd actually point back to something you said earlier in the podcast for that one. It just resonated straight away. And that was more that we were talking about teachers, and it was that space of, is the shouting coming for their safety? Are you shouting at them from love? Or are you shouting at them from your own pain? You know, your own masked pain that you can't control. Is it a trauma thing that you haven't dealt with? Or is it a trigger that you haven't dealt with? That's more I experience this when we have friends come over. I always want the house to be in a nice state. Whenever you come over for the podcast, it's like I'm always furiously like, get the vac out. I want it to be nice, like a bit of Palo Santo. It's like those things kind of matter to me because I feel like you're treating it as with the importance that it deserves. Someone coming over is, can be many things, but it's important. And I feel if it's a Tuesday afternoon or evening and the house is a mess and you're losing your shit at your two kids, I guess the question is, does the mess serve a purpose? If the mess is serving the purpose of comfort and experimentation from the children and play, then why do you need it to be a certain way would be my question. I think it's important to teach kids to clean up after themselves and all that sort of hoo-ha, but the making of the mess is like, some people can't stand mess, but for me, I've learned to allow it to serve its function as long as it doesn't persist, And if the invitation is, why, I feel less spiritual when I yell, maybe you don't allow yourself to be out of control. Maybe there is,
Are there facets of your life that feel controlled? Do you feel controlled? But again, the purveying idea for me is, are you flowing into your children? And that's, that can be yelling, or it can be forceful boundary holding from a place of love and from a place of deep care for your children, or are you doing it from an uncontrolled, unconscious place of hurt? That's really, that's the space that I would be investigating and seeing what juice you can kind of pull out of that space. And be gentle and kind to yourself while you do that. Yeah, that's my take on that question. You got anything else, man?
Oh, just piggybacking on what you're saying, the nuance, and you explore that question. Am I yelling at my kids because I'm triggered? Or am I yelling at my kids because boundaries have been crossed and I need to be heard and I can feel a loving connection with them while I'm doing it? I don't know, man. I'm, 10, 15 years into the parenting journey and, 20, 25 years into a spiritual practice. And it feels so powerful to be able to sit in it and go, excuse me, we don't do that here, and this is enough. If both kids are really, I've got a couple, if both kids are really charged and they're going at each other over something or something, to be able to sit in it and something that matters to all three of us, and to somehow not be triggered, but still be really firm and looking them right in the eye. It's easier if my nervous system's been reset by sleep or a break or something. I'm in awe of any of us to be able to do that as well. So when you said just be kind to yourself, it's like, yeah, it's so big to be able to sit in the cauldron of your own childhood pain, brought up by your own children as they're in their childhood pain, and to be able to sit and breathe and regulate and then go, I'm upset right now because this isn't being done, and this isn't representative of the family we say we want to build together. You guys, how can we do better? I can't let this continue to happen. How can we do better? To sit in all that, I don't know, I think they're massive moments of triumph. And yes, it's another paradox. We want them to be routine, but to understand how massive that is. How many dialogues do we have with other parents where it's, don't you see how wonderful a job you're already doing? It'd be ill-placed, but the opposite doesn't seem to ever find its way into dialogue. Like, suck it up and do a better job, or yet we speak to ourselves that way. It's fierce stuff, and the fact that this person's asking this question already, I don't know, maybe it's too far to say, but shows the advantage that those children have in this world, that there's this level of introspection in play. Yeah.
On a practical note, was quite an angry young teen, and then 20s I got into martial arts. Actually, it's younger than that, pre-teens, pretty angry, just fiery kid. I remember, and I don't get angry that much. I mean, I raise my voice still, but I don't really get angry. But I feel like a really good gauge of where you are at with your anger, hopefully this is helpful, is, are you still you? So are you still piloting the vehicle, or have you disappeared? Has the anger overtaken you, and has it consumed you, and you are pouring that anger out into the world? Feels like a really good thing to get familiar with and used to as a fulcrum point of I've lost control or I'm in control. And I would not advise is the wrong word, but I would invite that introspection into that pivot point where you are still in control, you're still yourself, and you have a handle on the entire situation. And I believe that you can then lovingly set limits, boundaries, be grumpy, You know, like you can be all of those spaces. But there's still the ability for, if your kid says something funny, because my daughter likes to relieve tension with comedy, with humor, you can still wink. Even though you're grumpy, you can still wink and go, come on, sort it out, after you've just raised your voice. Or are you out of control? And if you're out of control, then I would invite you to look at why that happens, how that happens, and maybe what that pain point is.